I've picked out 4 players that I'd like to see Liverpool sell, and I'll give you my reasoning behind it. So we'll start off with the first one. This video is being brought to you with thanks to Surfshark. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that allows you to browse websites in other countries and keep you safe and secure from hackers. Surfshark allows you to virtually travel the world with just the tap of a finger. As an example, we here in Ireland can What is Afflix? We here in Ireland can watch other countries' Netflix libraries, unlock UK services such as BBC iPlayer, and of course that all-important Spanish DAZN account for football. Surfshark keeps you safe and secure by covering up everything that you do online. When your device connects to the internet, all this information is, in a way, blurred out. This is particularly effective when you're out and about on public Wi-Fi, maybe you're in college or at a cafe. It keeps your information safe and secure from hackers. With a Surfshark, just ask Surfshark, just here, have a Surfshark. Johnny? Mildred, Surfsharks? Surfshark allow you to use unlimited devices on just one subscription, meaning if you so wish, you can grant access to your friends and family. On top of that, Surfshark offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you don't like it, they refund you. It is that simple. Our sign-up offer gives you a whopping 83% off. That's right, I did say 83% off and 3 months additional free. Simply scan the QR code on your screen right now or use the link in the description, putting in the code Anfield Agenda at checkout. So look, I'm not going to beat around the bush. There's a lot to get through in this video. So I'm going to start off with the clear out. I'm going to start off with players who I think Liverpool will move on in the summer and players who I think they should look to move on in the summer. And there's some obvious ones with regards to players whose contracts are running down. So Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, James Milner, Naby Keita. They're probably the 3 that I expect Liverpool to move on from the group that are running down their contracts. That sounds a little bit negative, and I don't mean it to. When I say running down the contracts, I mean people whose contracts are coming to a natural conclusion. So move those gentlemen on, allow them to do whatever they want to do with the rest of their careers. The only one I would keep, and a name I haven't mentioned there, is Bobby Firmino. We've seen that there's been some talk of Liverpool maybe offering Bobby a 1 or a 2 year extension. I'm perfectly comfortable with that. I think Bobby still has a bit that he can add to the group. So if Jurgen Klopp feels like he doesn't want wholesale change, particularly with regards to the forward line having previously lost Sadio Mane, I understand that completely. But now we move on to players that I'd like to see Liverpool look to potentially sell. As we know, any of our business will be partially funded by sales, and we don't really have a lot in this squad, from my perspective, that I'd be willing for Liverpool to part with, and certainly ones that would bring in much needed funds. We all know that FSG will give funds in the summer to Jurgen Klopp. It's just a matter of how much, who we need to sell, how we finish in the league. Will the Champions League have an effect or an impact on how much money Klopp has to spend? So for argument's sake here, what I've done is I've picked out 4 players that I'd like to see Liverpool sell, and I'll give you my reasoning behind it. So we'll start off with the first one, Curtis Jones. I just don't see the future for this guy at the club. I understand he's a homegrown player. I understand he's a player that came through the Liverpool Academy system. But ultimately, that will be just pure profit. I've mentioned in previous videos about Chelsea looking to move on maybe Mason Mount and some other Academy product because that would help them with FFP. Kind of similar thing for us, only for without the FFP headache here. I would look to move on Curtis Jones. I don't see enough progression in him. And yes, I know he's still relatively young, but I can't see a position that he nails down as his own at any point in the coming 2 or 3 years in Liverpool's team. So if we got an offer of, let's say, 20 to 25 million, I would sell Curtis Jones. The other person who would move on, or the other people who would move on, is Nat Phillips. Not really much of a surprise there. Nat was probably going to move on in January if we hadn't picked up a centre-back injury, so I don't think that's going to be much of a surprise to any of you guys. With regards to a fee for his services, I have no idea, to be honest. I don't even know where to start with it. Moving on to a couple of players who may surprise 1 or 2. One of them has been mentioned previously by, I think, Neil Jones of Goal, and that is Joel Matip. Now, Joel Matip has 1 year left on his Liverpool contract at the end of this season, to the best of my knowledge. And I think if you could bring in 8 or 10 million quid there and go out there and look to bring in another centre-back, it's a good way to refresh it without letting Joel leave for free. So I would move Joel Matip on, with somewhat of a heavy heart, I have to say, because I've enjoyed Joel's time at Liverpool immensely, and I think when he's on it, when he's fit, he can be a fine centre-back. But at this particular moment in time, he does look like he's having a bit of a crisis of confidence, and I think it's the right time to move him on. And then the big one, the one that's probably going to raise a few eyebrows with regards to players that I would like to see Liverpool sell, and that is Fabinho. I know, he's done a lot for us. I know he's a very good player when he's at the top of his game, but he's also 29 years of age. He's also showing signs of decline to me, and I've seen rumours that clubs out there are willing to look to buy him. Real Madrid's name has been linked with Fabinho today. Now, I disagree massively with what I'd seen regarding Liverpool looking for 70 million euro for Fabinho, but then again, Casemiro went the opposite way, didn't he? From Real Madrid to Manchester United for 70 million quid, and he's worked out all right. So I don't think he's worth 70 million, but I would move Fabinho on. Obviously, the emergence of Stefan Bajcetic added into the fact that we have some other young defensive midfielders like Tyler Morton who can play in a 6 or an 8 coming through. And I would like to add one of those players in from to midfield with regards to the players that I'm going to be calling out in a second that I'd like to see Liverpool acting on. So again, just to reiterate on those lists, players leaving on a free, I'd like to see Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, James Milner, Naby Keita move on, and players who would command somewhat of a fee, Curtis Jones, Nat Phillips, Fabinho and Joel Matip. They will be the outgoings. Now we move on to the good stuff, the fun stuff, the sexy stuff, the incomings. So I started off with midfield, and I would like to see Liverpool bring in at least 3 of these names mentioned. I'm going to go through a list of 7 players, obviously all of them with different attributes, different skill sets they can bring to midfield, and obviously different positions, be they a 6 or an 8 or an 8.5 or a 6.5 or whatever other hipster terms we want to use in the modern day. So let's start off with the one player whose name isn't even debatable. That is Jude Bellingham. Top of the list, number 1. Every other midfielder I mentioned will be on top of Jude Bellingham. So Jude Bellingham is the one that for me isn't even up for debate. So I'm going to park that to one side. Then we go through a list of players. And honestly, from these list of players, I'm fine with a few of them. So names that I'm going to put out there. Moses Caicedo, obviously of Brighton. Chelsea have gone out there and brought in Enzo. So I don't think that they'll have the wiggle room to go out to try and bring Caicedo in. I'd love to see Liverpool bring him in. There are other options as we spoke about previously. There's also Matheus Nunes from Wolves. Wouldn't mind seeing Liverpool bring him in. And any transfer list that I've seen suggests that Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool are keen on bringing him. I still don't understand why we didn't sign him when he was going from Sporting to Wolves, but that being said, I'd still happily have him in the team. Another player who would like to see Liverpool look at in midfield is, of course, Nicolo Barella. Now, Barella, I'm not sure how I'm supposed to pronounce that. I think this one is probably one of the more unlikely ones. Yes, you can look at the situation with Inter Milan with regards to the finances that they need to free up, and maybe an offer for Barella would be one that they would contemplate, maybe. I don't know. I've seen figures of 62 to 66 million being mentioned by Calcio Mercato, and quite frankly, that's not too bad. I would have thought they would have asked for more. So Barella is definitely somebody to consider, although I don't know if you'd be able to prize him out of Italy. A couple of other names to mention, of course, Yuri Tielemans, somebody who will be leaving Leicester City on a free at the end of the season, still only 25 years of age. And I know, I hear you, he's not top of the list of priorities, he's not the one that gets you up off your seat excited, but as a potential Premier League proven free player with creativity, yes, he'll have a signing bonus, yes, he'll have relatively high wages, but I think we could do a lot worse than consider him. And I've got 2 more names with regards to midfielders who I'd like to see Liverpool look at. One of them is Manu Kone of Borussia Mönchengladbach. Obviously, you've probably seen his name mentioned yourself. I think he'd be a relatively cost-effective player to bring in. And obviously one that Klopp would have some scouts looking at, I'm sure, obviously with him being in the Bundesliga. And the last name I have for you guys is Coop Miners, the guy from Atalanta. Fairly solid technical midfielder. He looks like he'd be available for a reasonable fee. I'm not going to, of all the names on the list, this is probably the one that I've personally watched the least. But from all the reports and stuff I've read, he does seem to be one that Liverpool are running the rule over. So again, for me, it's any 3 of Bellingham, Caicedo, Nunes, Barella, Manu Kone, Yuri Tielemans, and Coop Miners. So any 3 of them, as long as it includes Jude Bellingham. And I'm personally good. And the last position that I want to talk about today is centre-back. And it looks like Liverpool want to bring in a left-sided centre-back. Does that mean we'll see Virgil van Dijk move across to the right side? Potentially. But to me, this comes down to 2 names. 2 names probably at different valuations. One of them, Josko Gvardiol, the name that you're probably expecting me to say. Obviously, he has a contract with RB Leipzig. It's believed he has a €120 million release clause. I've read mixed reports on when that kicks in. Some people believe it kicks in 2024. There are others who think he could get him for the release clause in the summer coming up. But again, that is a lot of money to commit to one position on top of Jude Bellingham as an example. And the other name is Antonio Silva of Benfica. Obviously, Portuguese football is hot right now, and there's a lot of talent being unearthed in the Portuguese Primeira Division. Antonio Silva, again, is a player who personally I haven't seen much of, but I have read enough reports, and I've heard managers, coaches, and journalists speaking about this guy as the next big thing with regards to Benfica's talent. So either one of those two gentlemen, and that would be just fine with me. So that is it. That is my take on what Liverpool need in the summer. Where the funds come from, I guess that remains to be seen. I don't want us to be in a situation where we even have to consider selling the likes of Mohamed Salah. I was glad to see Remy Abbas jump online today to rubbish rumours that he might want out the door if Liverpool don't get Champions League football. Very happy to see his agent put those rumours to bed. So look, it's over to you guys now. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Drop a like on the video. And of course, hit that subscribe button. I will be back with a preview very soon. Maybe you've already watched the preview by the time you're watching this. I don't know. But let me know your thoughts as well on that ahead of the game against Wolves on Wednesday. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.